more realistic, manage your expectations, and realize the potential. Such a project has never been done in our country before.
Managing expectations, very important, so that we won't have frustrations. We need to manage expectations. How are you working on that, especially with the youth? I mean, they can reap the fruit easily later.
So I'll tell you, you know, I'm always very open in this. So the guys put me together with them, the first batch, the first intake, in a closed group on the Facebook. So I told them, guys, but I have nothing to add to you. I'm a volunteer. I've finished my part with the design. I'm not part of the implementation, so I can do nothing for you. If you want some advice from me, from an HR perspective, from a business perspective, I can add value to you with my mistakes more than anything else. I'm here for you. If not, bring me out of the group. So they said, super, we want you there, and so on. And then the next day and the third day and so on, they keep coming back to me. I'm not happy with this, I'm not happy with that. And I tell them, guys, now that's your challenge. You need to find your way and collect ideas and like somehow manage the relation with the service provider, the execution team. So today I was asking them, how are things going? And then they gave me all the problems on earth. And I tell them, guys, now, didn't you know from the beginning, didn't we agree from the beginning, I don't have this role, it's your challenge and so on. You keep hammering on the same point and you tell them every second. So you have in your pocket like 10 pounds. And you know that the cost of this meal is 50 pounds. And then you go and try to buy it and they tell you need 40 more pounds. And then you start being disappointed and crying. Are you sure? Like, you know it's very clear, you need to remind yourself every second, and when you expect the worst and the best, you can make things happen afterwards. So you keep hammering on this, you keep repeating the same to them. Some of them are very intelligent, they get it straight away. So the others are still like finding their way to this, but that's normal. Our society over the past many years, we keep complaining and so on. Like, I'm not stereotyping, but it happens a lot. So I guess we need this change of mindset a bit.
Right. What was quite interesting in what you said, Khaled, is about that they don't have concerns to say more about their opinion. And this is quite interesting, you know, because sometimes youth are complaining about that we don't have the grown-ups listening to what we're saying.
So actually over here, they found that we're there, we're reaching out to them and tell them, guys, tell us what's wrong. So the beginning for the fast, like the first, it was actually today, first 6 hours of the day, all types of negative comments. Then the last 2 hours, you find that there's a switch. They start saying there are positive things. Now, what's more important, what was really like so impressive for me is that by the end of the day, they were somehow organizing themselves. And they were saying, okay, let's develop a certain setup. Let's form a team, let's put all the ideas, what we want to improve, how can we improve it, and that's a very positive thing. I keep telling the young kids out there, guys, people like me, we're so old, we're rigid with our ideas and everything, you can come up with the ideas. I'm the one who's supposed to keep telling you, yes, but no, it doesn't work, I cannot do it, I'm lost, I'm helpless, I'm desperate, no way. And you tell me there's this way and that way, and there are 3, 4 other paths to follow.
Solutions, options.
And they can do it much better than me. They're more flexible, they're more creative, they know things I've never seen in my life. And they've developed this. By the end of the day today, I was happy to see how the transformation works without any interference from our side.
Transformation working and analytical thinking in parallel, right?
Exactly.
So training them on how to be actually having this part of analytical thinking. This is something new, I mean, today.
Yes. That's part of the core competencies we're developing as part of the experiential learning. So usually the model, if it applies, and I was very happy over the past week, like we spent 2 full days, special workshop like training the trainers. We have people with us, over 60 people from the best talents in the country, all age groups. You're talking from people from the age of 25 to the age of 70, 75 even. They're gurus in different areas, management, marketing, human resources, economics, political sciences, finance. And these guys and ladies were all with us in the room. I was given the honor and pleasure to run these workshops. End of the 2 days, everybody was fully oriented on the experiential learning approach. We developed the material fully. And that's part of the beauty of the experiential learning. So we tell the kids, okay guys, tomorrow you're going to be going, let's say we got this lecture about, for example, marketing strategies.
Right.
So we're going to go to the Ministry of Tourism. Tell us how we're going to like handle it. So they need to say, I don't give them anything, I'm just a facilitator. And they would sit and say, okay, we need to ask these questions, we need to talk to the guy, but how can we tell him that you have a lousy plan? Can we change that? So we need to think how we're going to like attract their attention, do it properly, not like really bother them. And this is how we're going to do it, this is the type of information we're looking for. Experiential means they find their own way, and they tease and they like explore, and somehow it works.
Right. You're talking about, Khaled, training the trainers, and this is quite interesting as well. Do they have a voice, the youth themselves? I mean, is there like some sort of an evaluation or an assessment for their trainers?
Yep. So I got a lady who's working with us. She's a guru in her area. She's one of the best people I've met in my life, Dr. Dina Burai. And she's a leading mind, I would say, in the area of assessment altogether. Education and assessment. And she has developed great assessment models. She was giving part of the trainers workshop also, and she was telling all of us, how can you measure anything? And it's not really about tests. It's never about tests. It's very simple approaches, yet it's so sound and quantitative/qualitative. You can assess the participants, and you can assess the trainers by different means through very clear criteria that you set, and every criteria has its own dimensions, has its own measures. She's done that. And the beauty of it, again, she taught us the model, and then the group of trainers for every subject would develop their own. And then she would also go back to the trainees themselves, or the participants. Here is how you're going to assess your trainers, once again.
Right.
So it's a beautiful mutual model. Both parties assess each other.
Yeah. When the youth feel that the state is behind their back, that we are investing in them, when they see the president there among them, when they feel that there is a political will for change and for investing in them, how does that reflect on them?
So thank you for bringing this up, because that's one of the things I need to keep reminding the kids about. I'm sorry to say the kids because they're very young compared to me. So I love them. I feel like they're so young, and I really love them. I really love them, But guys, I need you to understand that this is
if you don't love them, you won't be able to invest in them.
That's the passion part.
That's the passion part of it,
And I need them to really realize that this is so big what's happening right now. Everybody would think, the very famous Maslow's hierarchy, so the first thing you're interested about is like basic things, food and water, then shelter and so on. Now education for so many countries tells you that comes latest or whatever, or last. So when a country like ours tries to invest as much as we can in things like the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, like you've seen most of the projects, like Teachers First, another great project also, a huge initiative. And our program, the PLP, this tells you that this country really wants to educate its youth. And one thing that you need to keep in mind, a country which is so focused on educating the youth is not afraid of them. Because once they're educated, they will know lots of things.
They will be aware. They will understand.
So they would definitely oppose anything wrong. And the country wants you to oppose what is wrong, but also come up with the ideas. The country wants you to oppose it, but not in a negative way or burning the country, but to come and tell us, okay, here is the better way to do it.
Right.
So if they really keep thinking that way...
And think positive.
That's the point.
I mean, it's no problem that you have differences.
Yes, that's the point. But
just
help us, guys.
On the table.
Help us, guys, and don't tell us, I hate it. Over the past few days, you get like all the people, for example, with the dollar thing and whatever, the currency exchange, and they have no clue about how deep it is and how complicated the whole world is going crazy on different levels. And it's so complicated, it's about production, productivity, and so many things. But then everybody says, see, that's how it is, everything's going on, come on, guys. Now, whoever's going to come up with the ideas to change this country, make it really positive, people like you. Now, sometimes ask lots of people, the time you spend on negative energy and spreading the negative energy on the internet, if you do anything productive in the same time, we're not going to be in this situation on different levels, Jane.
Right. Well, it's also important to make them part of the decision-making process, and training them to take decisions themselves is very important. Starting with their personal lives. I mean, I need to be working in that speciality. I need to like make for myself like short-term goals and long-term goals. This is going to lead to in a larger sense in the decision making, isn't it?
Totally right, and that's a core part of the program. So we're applying a global model. It's called the 21st Century Competency Model, and this tells the people, okay, to succeed in such a project, which is it's comprising also things like a mini MBA plus political sciences plus economics plus other things. So the guys are going to learn through experiential approach once again how to take decisions, how to assess risks and do mitigation for the risks, how to work together in teams, how to be leaders, how to influence without authority, how to do the analytical thinking, to develop alternatives and so on. And that's again the beauty of the model. They're going to learn for their lives, for the business, for the future. And the beauty of it is that at the end of the 8 months, each one is going to have their own individual graduation project. It's going to show everything, and they're going to go there, and they're hopefully, inshallah, if things are implemented as we designed, I'm going to be one of these kids standing there in front of an audience, including people like yourself, who are like really professional people in senior positions in the country, and I'm, as a student, will be standing there presenting my project, which should solve a problem in the government, in one of these local entities.
Right.
It has to include so many things and painful decisions. That's going to be a real test for the kids.
That would be great, because it's very important to let them swim.
Yep, exactly.
And
That's
see how things are going to be influenced. We're talking about investment in the youth, and this is a big headline. It's a big story.
Yep.
Short-term goals and long-term goals.
So the short term, to be very realistic, of course, I keep reminding myself and the kids, that's, let's say, group 0. It's not even group number 1, because there are going to be lots of things, like what they do in hotels, like a soft opening, going to be lots of issues. It's like a pilot. There's so many mistakes that are going to happen. Going to clean up ourselves and do it better, maybe. And we need the kids' support to make it work for the first time. Short term, we need to come up with a real refined product, part 2. So maybe the second intake, we're going to be having like a separate entity to do it. We're going to give it all together to an existing governmental body to run it, for example. We as volunteers, we're not existing anymore in the project. So when I finish the trainers on Tuesday, I'm not part of the project anymore. We want to give the example. There's an executive team running the show. Maybe after a while, they're going to say we need a steering committee for it. So that's part 1. Part 2, we need to give a very good example. These kids, even if they take 60% of what we dream of happening, the 60% will be much better than anything on the ground. So that's going to be, again, a short-term thing. Short-term thing, each one of them will have what we would call a circle of influence. When they go out of this program, they're going to see lots of things. They're going to get like things about national security, about strategic planning, about like what the army is facing in terms of the challenges that we're facing as a country, and so on. Things I would love to learn about myself.
Yeah, great that you wrote about this topic, Khaled, because the sense of awareness is very important, that they will be aware, and aware also of the security challenges, and aware of politics and national security.
Yeah, it's a very important element. Very important
what
element.
Happens in the brainwash that we see for the kids, if I would use your term.
Yes, exactly. And I'm sorry to tell them,
because they don't understand.
They don't understand, and they're under lots of pressure, and this is where that's another like a big painful decision for the government. We really need to invest in our local media, the real state media, because that's the only one that represents the people's interests.
Right.
You get your salary and your money from the taxpayer, and you're the only person over here, like people like you, Khaled, and like Nile TV all together, and like the Egyptian state media services. You don't bluff and you don't say wrong things. As much as you can, you follow the proper thing. That's why for lots of people who have breaking news, and 90% of them sometimes are made up. Right. They put opinions in the form of news. They're distorting images and so on.
Our credibility matters.
Exactly.
We're living accordingly.
So if we really like invest more in our state media, I think we're going to have much better impact on the kids.
Definitely. The media and the kids.
Yeah.
Shaping their minds, shaping their hearts, shaping their future.
Yep.
How do you deal with that challenge? What they watch in the media, and how far they are quite interested